All right, welcome everybody. It's Dr. Keith. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully everything's fine and dandy. Can everybody hear me okay? And can you see the screen? Make sure on that first, like we always do. All right, great. Thanks, Jim. All right, well, we'll get started here then. Again, my plan today is just kind of give you an initial overview of what I call the major markets and then look at some opportunities and answer any questions that you have, okay? Anywhere from 40 to 60 minutes is my goal on these, okay? Okay, so let me just start right from the top here with the E-mini. Okay, so as you see today, we're basically hitting new highs. It's been a nice run, right? And, as I mentioned last week, when we were here, I said I wouldn't be surprised if we're higher by the next time we speak, which is today. So again, we're heading higher. Is that because I'm the smartest guy in the world? No, I wish. But it's really not that difficult, right? I mean, we have so many things going for us, right? We have seasonality saying we're heading higher. We have the chart saying we're heading higher. And then I call it the unwritten one, right? What is the mentality of the Forex traders that can trade this type of instrument in the FX world? What have they been doing? And they've been short since April, folks. And unfortunately, retailers are almost always wrong, right? So again, as of today, as of right now, retailers are 77% short the market. They've been short the market forever. That's the real reason between the seasonality and the overall trend being up. Okay, those are the three reasons why we continue to head higher, in my opinion, more than anything. Okay, and does it mean at some point I mean, yes, we're gonna have a decline at some point, right? It's funny because like I'm a real person and I subscribe to a lot of free information that other folks send out. Do I watch them all? No. But the reason I like to is I like to get a feel for what they're saying. And a lot of these folks have been saying forever, the indexes are overbought, right? They're overbought. What a lot of folks aren't realizing nowadays, things can stay overbought forever, okay? I mean, even from a pure Laguerre perspective, right? I mean, look at this. That's what I love of Laguerre. We haven't had a trigger below the red here, or burgundy, during this entire up move. Okay, and obviously if we would have, I wouldn't have shorted, right? I would have waited for a retracement to go long again. But, we haven't even had a sell trigger. So I don't know what they're looking at. But, I mean, the markets continue higher. When we finally do get the pullback, right, I'm not going to go short the hell out of everything. My plan is to get a discount and go long when the opportunities arise, okay? Again, one of the things I really am trying to put a lot of emphasis into is the trend is our friend in anything you want to trade. You can't forget about that. Even though we have all these great indicators, right, all the thinking's done for us, right? But trends mean something, so keep that as number one on your list, okay? So let me look at the Dow as well. Okay, remember we talked last week and I was wrong, right? I said I wouldn't be surprised if we hit new highs. We haven't quite yet. Of course, today's session isn't over yet in the futures market. But no, so it's continuing up as well. I do think we'll hit highs on the Dow as well. Again, everything from the same reason that we talked about on the ES. And then the NASDAQ, right? It's been actually the strongest of the markets. The tech stocks continues higher. It's just an unbelievable move. And again, there's no way I'm going to short this, okay? People shorted here a lot, maybe thinking, here we go. And it was just a 3-day retracement to the middle band and then back up. Okay. So you're really only going to see people picking tops after the fact, after it happened. They're going to show an indicator and say, hey, this happened, this is why. But that's not what's going to make you money. Follow the trend, follow the trend, follow the trend. Especially when it matches a seasonal movement and you have retailers thinking, hey, this is the top, let's short it. This is the top, let's short it. That's how you can make money, okay? All right, hey, AJ, so he says, do you think investment experts advise and are based on their own held positions? You know, that's hard to say because I know there's, it's like police, right? There's always a few bad apples in anything, right? Well, I'm sure there's the same with the quote unquote experts as well. I think a majority of them do what's right for their clients so they stay in business, the best they can. Several of my clients are investment experts and, they like the seasonal perspective. So they get my information from me. They do other things, obviously, but from a seasonal perspective. So I think that what's really important is just understanding how the markets make money. They make money off the little guy and gal, okay? And so when retailers have been shorting the heck out of the markets because of bad news, right? You watch CNBC, all you hear is bad news. I haven't turned it on in months, okay? I used to turn it on just to get a contrary indicator, but I can't handle it anymore. But my guess would be you're not seeing a lot on every day about hitting new highs, okay, even if you watch like the world news. But as soon as you have a bad day in the markets, then they're all over that, right? It's always about the bad news because that's what tunes people in. So anyway, I think that most of the really good investment experts, they don't make recommendations solely based on what they hold. They do it based on who's buying, what's buying, and then again, I know some of them even use seasonal tactics because they're part of my clientele, okay? All right, so let's look at the dollar index. Remember I said last week, we're getting close to a low, right? We're getting close. Right around October is when we typically bottom on the dollar index, right? So I'm saying only looking for sell signals, okay, is all we're looking for. And on the daily, we haven't got anything, right, on sell. You'd have to go, we can look at a 4-hour time frame. And so the last sell trigger we had on the 4-hour would have been right here. And that was a nice trigger. Then you get out. And now what we're waiting for is another sell trigger on the 4-hour, right? Are we getting close? Probably, right? That's a beautiful looking downtrend. And we're just waiting for that Lagarde to trigger. So if you're looking to trade the dollar index off the 4-hour, we're getting close. We're getting close. But I'm only looking for shorts. Okay, let me talk about, before we talk about individual stocks, let me also bring up the VIX. So again, the VIX, we had a Lagarde trigger right here, long. VIX has been heading up a little bit there, right? Interesting enough is what? The VIX has been heading up and so have the markets, okay? That you don't see that very often. Now, it hasn't been doing much here. But again, what do I think that? I think that's extremely bullish, in my opinion, for markets to go higher, okay? To continue to go higher. Crude oil. Okay, we've been waiting for this decline, but I'm not taking it, right? I hope oil comes down because it'll give us another re-enter here in a couple of weeks, possibly to go long. If you want to take that counter 10 trade, but then when we get into late September, I'm only looking for short. So I'm not doing much with oil right now because it hasn't been doing much to really spark my interest. We are seeing a sell trigger, and it's at the bottom band, but it's a very narrow band. I'm not interested in shorting this, but if I had to pick a direction right now, I would go short. But what's the biggest rule I'd be breaking, right? Look at that big, big uptrend. I don't want to go against that. So what am I going to do? I'm going to happily stay out of the market. Okay, we don't have to trade crude right now, so why do it? Gold, again, the bias tends to be to the downside from a seasonal. But I mentioned we're in that nice uptrend, and there's a lot of money on the sideline, and all we're doing is this. So there's not a lot going on with gold right now, right? But I am waiting for later in the year. If we get a breakout to the downside, then we get a retracement and we have a lower high, then I'll look to short it at that point if that happens, okay? So again, very simple rules. You don't have to spend hours, analyzing that. And then let me bring up bonds. Okay, so as I mentioned last week, okay, I'm actually more interested in this short, right? But what I love about it right here is there's a lot of support right here. So those of you that have some of my subscriptions, on the ZN, which is the 10-year, I actually took a long play, right? And you're like, well, I thought you said last week you weren't as interested. And I'm not, but there's a nice bounce here, and then we go sideways until we get into October. So the reason I took this was it's just a great opportunity. I like my risk on this, okay? What I'll probably do when the market opens up tonight is move my stop to break even. That way it could come down and stop me out, absolutely, and it was just more of a break even trade. But I could move this up to break even, and then if it continues higher, it'll hit my profit target 1, and then maybe it'll continue higher, and that's how you can really build your account up for your newer traders. But the reason I took it was I had a rule of a trigger, and I love the fact that it was giving that bottom Bollinger Band has been holding really well, okay? So I call it maybe a slight more aggressive move, but the overall trend is up. We had that nice retracement to the bottom band, and now it's just more of a consolidation. That's why I'll eliminate my risk as soon as I can here, and it could end up being just a break-even trade. But I'd rather have a break-even trade. And trust me, on the futures market, if you got out even right here, you're making some decent money depending on how many contracts you're trading. Okay, so again, once we're out of this long play, then I'm going to sit on the sidelines and wait for the next short. Okay. All right, so let's go and talk about some stocks here. NVIDIA, right? So the thing about NVIDIA is we hit a new high today, right? Hit a new high. And as I mentioned, when it hit new highs, it usually retraces a little bit. Again, this is hard to get in right now. What you want to do if you really want to trade this is wait for a 4-hour trigger long, right? That to me is the best bet as a swing trader. Love the trend, love this. This was my pick of the year, and I think it's just going to continue to scream higher. But I don't want to get in at highs. Okay, I just don't. All right, so the euro. Let me scroll down on this a little bit for you. So the euro's in this uptrend, right? Now we're consolidating. And what does that tell you? Right around October, we started heading lower. So we have a month here. So are we consolidating to go higher one more time? That would be my guess, okay? Before we start the downturn. So again, what I like to look at on the euro, I like to know what's going on with, with the retailers. And right now, roughly 60% of them are short. So not a huge advantage, okay? But again, because they're short, I prefer longs, and that's matching everything else here, okay? The Laguerre is kind of a mess. So again, if I was going to take a long play on this, I would go to a 4-hour chart and wait for the next trigger. Interesting enough, is it coming here in the next day? Very possibly, and I love this support right here, okay? So a good potential opportunity in the euro. All right, Apple. Let me go back to the daily for right now. We had the stock split, right? Typically, it's bullish after the split, and it seems to be that way. But honestly, Apple's such a bullish stock, that wasn't hard to predict. But so what are we looking for, right? You can get in cheaper now, so we're going to head higher, folks. People are going to buy Apple, okay? Institutions are going to buy Apple even more. So again, I'm not going in at the high. That's just not how I trade. I have rules. I stick to them. But what I'm looking for is a retracement and then the next entry point, okay? And yes, it may be on the 4-hour chart. Absolutely. This is the daily, okay? But the trend is our friend. The seasonality is our friend. Now we just need to wait and be patient for the next trigger. Same thing with Facebook. Netflix hit a recent high, right? And again, reason I don't like to go in at highs, typically this is what happens when you hit a new high. Not every time, but more times than not. So you wait for it and you wait for the next trigger, right? Whether it was right here or whether it was right here, okay? So same thing, if you're not in this, you wait for a retracement, you wait for the next trigger. It'll happen. We love the seasonal. So if you're a Netflix trader, you can trade off the daily over the next, forever, right? You can look for longs. Or you can trade more. You can go off the 4-hour and wait on your triggers, okay? But only look for long plays, in my opinion. Tesla split as well, right? Had a nice down move today. Again, it's just profit taking, folks. So again, what that's going to do, and we may end up getting a sell trigger here. So maybe it'll head further down. I'm not shorting this, but maybe you'll get lucky and get in at 300, right? But that's how you can be patient. You can wait and just wait for that next long trigger. I mean, if you just waited on these triggers, how'd you do? Well, you got in at 150. How'd that work out? Right? Or you got in right here at, let's say, 300. How'd that work out? So you have all these stocks to pick. Just wait for triggers, based off of these high probability setups. Then Amazon, ditto, same thing, right? Same exact thing. We had the last triggers we had on the daily was right here and then right here after earnings, okay? So now we got to wait. Or again, if you're impatient, you aggressively want to go in, you should still wait for a trigger. I'd wait for a 4-hour. So we had a trigger right here. And now we're just waiting for that next trigger if you're not in. Okay, this is what we want. The trend is our friend is my saying again today that matches that seasonality. We know retailers are big picture bearish the markets overall, right? So these big long plays with the seasonal influences should make you lots of money. They really should. Okay, let's see. I think that covers the overall. I'm getting fast now, right? That was only 20 minutes or so. Now let me bring up the Forex. And by the way, if you use Thinkorswim and you've been irritated with the functionality lately, so am I. The way it's been hanging up and everything, they seem to have issues right now. Okay. Euro Swissy. Let me go back to the daily. So this was a trade that I tried to execute yesterday, and it never come back to get me. It started right up and hit my 2 profit targets, so I canceled this trade. Okay, but what was I looking at? Okay, so let me scrunch this over a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. You can see here, we typically top on the Euro Swissy the week of October 5th, okay, give or take, okay? So you can see when I had the curvature, we were in this, basically this consolidation, okay? I was expecting it to come up to roughly this, at least this 109 level, okay? Would now be a potential entry again, yes, but I already missed out once here, and I don't have a new trigger off the daily that I'm liking right now, so I'm holding off on this, okay? Okay, so let's sort by 20 days. Okay, so the CAD yen typically has a move down. Okay, but again, my issue, and it's been fairly slow on the forex side, but we've been extremely profitable. The the uptrend. So I don't really want to take this right now, but I do want to see it head lower. Okay. Then again, when we get into October timeframe, if we're still in an uptrend with the seasonal long, that's really what I want. So I want this to come back and then give me a re-entry long. Okay. So again, within seconds, you can look at something like CAD yen and look at your highest opportunity, right? Your highest opportunity. It doesn't mean you can't make money on the short side, but let's play the odds with a longer term long play in the direction of that overall trend. Okay. So that's something I'm looking at from a short perspective over the next 20 days. The US dollar ZAR, okay, again, you'd have to go in on a 4-hour at this point. The US SEC, you can see here we're just about bottoming, right? We have a 3% move coming over the next 2 months, 3 months. This consolidating here, and you can see on the season we're just about at the bottom. So again, what I would wait for is a Laguerre trigger here, and I'm actually going to wait for a second one. Once we get these higher lows and then a trigger is what I'm looking for. And why is that? Because we're fighting this massive, massive downtrend. Okay, so I wait for trigger number 2 most times for that. All right, let's look at US CAD. Again, this follows the inverse relationship to oil quite a bit. Those of you that trade oil know that. Again, we're right at that bottom, right? Look at how patient that Laguerre has been here, saying don't go yet, right? We're so close. But again, if you take the first Laguerre trigger coming up here, when it does, remember you're fighting this massive trend, and that there is some risk there. So if you're okay with the risk, that's good. If not, what you want to do is let it come up. It will pull back, and as long as that pullback is higher than the low here, you have that higher low forming, then you can take it. Okay, that's the safest way to go against the trend, is wait for the higher lows to develop. Only, again, the asterisk is only when you have this monster move coming from a seasonal perspective. Okay, let me know if there's any questions on that. Okay, so let's look at futures. And I'll look at a couple, absolutely, AJ. Okay, so, oh, and by the way, so on the US CAD, I told you my new divergence is almost ready. I've been testing it. So this is pretty cool, right? This is about as good as it can get, folks, in a nutshell, except for one reason. So it's saying potential for divergence, right? Which means we may be at a bottom. So I'm definitely waiting for the Laguerre still, okay? But if you get a Laguerre trigger and then you get this divergence signaling that, yes, it's actually a divergence play, okay, that's a great opportunity. The only thing that could be better is if it was a divergence short and we were already overextended and we were looking to resume the overall trend down, okay, then we should be red here. Then that would be even better, okay? But what I like about divergence is it really does tell you a potential top and bottom in the market, which can help you in your analysis, okay? Yeah, so what SIG is here, we'll talk about that a little bit more when I get to the stock watch list. So just bear with me on that, and I'll definitely talk about that, okay? Okay, so when you're looking at the next 20 days, short moves, RBOB gasoline, we've been talking about it, right? It typically has a move down. It's just been consolidating. It's all it's been doing. And we were in that trend up until then. So this is like a flag, okay? So I'm not interested in aggressively going short. But like I said, what I'm waiting for, go ahead and break out short, okay? Come on back. give me a lower high, then that's our enter point right there. Does that make sense? Okay. Or of course, you wait for the next Laguerre trigger, assuming you have that lower high. That is the best way, folks, to be very conservative and be consistent. And it's not hard to look at, right? All right, so let's look at, I'm just picking some with some moves coming. So copper's a good example. It's got to move short, but I'm not playing that right now because it's been a really, really strong trend. Okay. Let's look at palladium. Massive uptrend. Only want longs on palladium. Problem with palladium is the margin's really high. So you need a really large account to trade that. But you can do really well with it. It's a very trendy market. Okay. But anyway, so let me sort by 20. Let me go to the positive. So oats. Okay, very interesting now. So this is a great example. Okay. And excuse my old notes here. But here's what's the beauty about it. So we were in this downtrend in oats, right? Now, and we should start heading higher. Okay, so we hit a low and now it's retracing. So what if it does this? Heads back to the middle band and heads higher. Okay, we now have a higher low, right? From 1 to 2, this is higher. That's my definition of a potential change in trend, and it's in the direction of the seasonal movement. So if you're an oat trader, I didn't take this initial trigger right here. It's more aggressive, long, okay? But now, when this comes back down and gives us an opportunity with the re-trigger long, that's when I'll take it, okay? So that's a great example to kind of stress how I'm looking at things when you're going against those massive trends. Okay, let's see what else we got. Soybean meal. Okay, we typically have a nice move up coming in September. Okay, so again, let it retrace, then we'll look to go long in September. Okay, let me bring up the 4 hour and see if we have any. No 4 hour triggers, no combo triggers today. Okay, so let's say you wanted to look at a move that was 40 days out. Okay, you can sort by 40 days. Everything's pretty similar to what we talked about. Cocoa is one where we're looking for shorts, right? We talked about this last week, but here's where patience comes in, right? Because in all reality, you don't want to fight this, but we know it's coming. It's where we're going to be going short. So if you take that Laguerre trigger short when it happens, that's risky, okay? What you'd want to do, in my opinion, is let it trigger, let this come down, head back up, and then you have, again, what we've been talking about today. This is your entry point back to the downside, okay? All right, we also have a really cool day trade coming up, folks, on the E-mini here in a couple weeks. So we'll talk more about that as we get closer. All right, so let me just bring up the weeklies for right now, okay? And I had a couple questions on AMD, so let me just bring that up first. Okay. So here's an example I was telling you. We have potential divergence, RSI divergence here, okay? This was yesterday's signal. So you might look, and yes, that works great, Dr. Keith, because we have a seasonal short. We have the Laguerre not triggered yet, okay? Again, I'm not looking to short this, okay? We're in this uptrend, okay? But if it comes back, okay, it's going to give me a better reentry when we get in November with this nice long play, okay? That doesn't mean you can't, especially with divergence coming, okay? This may head lower. But I just want to show you, again, my thinking as I'm placing trades. I'm going to wait for something else because I think there's too much risk here. Even though historically it heads down, it's pretty, it's pretty bullish stock right now, okay? Target. I was just there yesterday. My son needed a new headset. All right, so Target. I don't see a huge seasonal advantage on Target right now, right? So I'm going to look for something. So let's say we get a Laguerre trigger here in 3 days, okay? and it's like right here. So you could say, okay, we're in an uptrend, we're at the middle band, you can take it. You absolutely can, okay? But seasonally, there's better trades out there. So I won't take it, and that's why, just so you're aware, okay? All right, so let me explain SIG again. Okay, I'm gonna sort by SIG. What this means here is if it shows a minus 1.0, either the next 20 or the next 40 or the next 60 trading days, okay, or all three, but at least one of these have to be met, where there's an 8% move coming from a seasonal perspective based on the last 12 years of data, okay? So really what I'm getting at is if you see a minus 1.0, you're looking for shorts. If you see the plus, the green 1.0s, you're looking for longs. You can see these all have 8% moves in there at some point, okay? So that's kind of one of my main lists I look at every day, right? So let's just take a look through on the longs, okay? So on the long side, what I don't like about AG right now is actually short until 60 days out, right? So I'm going to skip that for now. AGN has a nice move coming, right? So what are we waiting for now? We're waiting for a trigger on the Laguerre, right? When you get that, then you have an opportunity. Right now, the only trigger I see as of today on the Laguerre was this one right here, right? You've got an 8% move coming. You've got green here. You've got green long. CNC could possibly be an opportunity. Let's take a look. Okay. So you look at the chart. Obviously, you can see we have a nice move coming. It looks like a bottom at 60. Okay. The only risk is you're fighting this trend, folks. So if you do, understand that. What I would wait to do, in my opinion, even though we have a trigger, let it go up, come back down, and then this is your entry, okay? Again, those are the safest. You have your own risk tolerance, okay? All right, any questions on that? You know, look at DAL, right? Delta. We have this beautiful seasonal, right? Right here was the trigger. We made money, okay? And the alert made money, okay? Had another re-trigger. Now you're up. But, you know, depending on your play, you might have did a January expiration because that's when we peak seasonally, okay? So you have plenty of time to make money on these type of trades. Okay. So do you need to wait for, so Jim says you need to wait for a trigger on the second low. I mean, you don't have to. So my rules are, you know, let's say, so for example, on this one, you're waiting, you know, for it to head back up right here, okay? I prefer to wait for a trigger, okay? That's my preference, even if you have a higher low, okay? But what you can do is, let's say that doesn't, you have a higher low, but you don't have a trigger here, okay? That happens quite a bit, right? Then change that to a 4-hour. At least then you have a rule that you can abide by to enter. Okay, I don't like to enter just to enter. Okay, absolutely, Carrie. Is that clear, by the way? So if you were to change it to a 4-hour chart, then you'll get a Laguerre trigger much faster. Okay, great question. Okay, so FedEx, we got earnings coming up. Okay, right here on the 15th, right? So here's what I'm hoping that happens during earnings. I hope we have some sort of retracement, right, so that we can look to enter long on FedEx here in the near future. FFIV, okay, same thing, okay? Here's the cool thing, right? So we're right at about 130 on FFIV. Okay, we see we have a move coming in October, pretty significant. So you just wait. You just wait. Okay. I just wanted to show you, I'll start spending more time in TradeStation in future weeks. But I wanted to show you something here. Okay. So it's going to look very similar to Thinkorswim, right? As far as the daily with the Bollinger Bands, this is the Laguerre, this is the stochastic, and then this is the seasonal chart right here, okay? I just want to give you, for a lot of you, kind of an introduction first. So the reason I've been using TradeStation quite a bit now as well, okay, is one main reason. Their radar screen is way more powerful. It can handle 1,000 stocks and not puke, okay? So when you have the radar screen, let me explain something here. And those of you that have been following me for a while that haven't seen this yet, you may get pretty excited. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is explain to you this right here, okay? What this is, let me sort by it. So what this is right here, this is the Laguerre RSI trigger, okay? But only if there's a seasonal advantage in the direction that is triggering, okay? So for example, you can see here that AMT, and this is what I did was I set this, and you can change this, folks, but I set this to a 5% move over the next 60 days, okay? That's what this logic has in here. You can just right click and change that to 10% over 30 days, 8% over 90 days, okay? But this is what I'm doing for this demonstration, okay? So anything that's going to trigger long here is going to have at least a 5% move. So let's say the Laguerre would have triggered long, but the move would have been 3%. It's not going to show up here. I don't have to think, right? Basically, this is filtering through 1,000 stocks today, and it's given me, in my opinion, right here, my best opportunities as of right now. Why? Because all these, let's just focus on longs right now because you know I'm focused on long plays, right? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stocks are triggering long on the Laguerre. That means they have a 5% move coming over the next, what did I say? I think 60 days. Yeah, 60 days, okay? And again, you can adjust that based on your trading style. So let's just take a look. Let me click on AMAT, okay? So here's the Laguerre trigger right here, okay? Oops, sorry, too much coffee today, okay? All this is, the red line is the forecast, just like in Thinkorswim. That's the 10-year. The blue line is the 5-year. So you can see forecasting, you know, higher up, right? That's the goal, that. And it's got the Laguerre trigger for you, okay? So would that have been an opportunity when it opened up today? Absolutely, okay? How long would I do an option play? Well, we typically peak right around, the initial peak is mid-October, you know, so you could do a November expiration on that, okay? But that's how quickly you can digest this. So Al says, is that logic available in TOS? So no, not yet. I'm trying with my programmers, it's a TOS issue, you know, their logic. But in saying that, I was also told I'd never be able to get to do the 20, 40, 60, and we do it, right? So not yet, it isn't. All right, let's look at CI. Okay, so CI. This is saying we've got a long trigger on the Laguerre, and it's over a 5% move, right? That's why it's showing me, okay? So right here's the Laguerre trigger on that 5% move. Pretty cool, eh? Now, others will still keep the Laguerre trigger normal because they don't want to just look at seasonal moves. I do, right? So that's why I'm really focusing on just this now, in all honesty, okay? Club H. Sounds like something I went to as a teenager. Okay, so Club H, you can see, has a pretty big move. Now, this is more of a penny stock. That's why you have a big percent. But here's the thing. If you're a gambler, right, you're like, all right, I got $5,000 that I don't know what to do with. Well, you can mail it to me. But second, right, maybe you get in at 47 cents knowing you have this seasonal long play on this penny stock. Well, it's not really a penny stock, but you know what I mean, right? So I keep them all. I mean, I don't trade those 99% of the time, but I still keep them on my radar screen, okay? ENTG. Okay, ENTG, again, you have a trigger right here, bam, bam, okay? So again, the reason why I focus on these seasonal moves is we're in a bull market. I'm going to try the ones that have already been working year over year. So my thought is they're going to work, of course, even when we're in this typical bull market, okay? So I'm ignoring pretty much the rest of these. Now, in saying that, you can also just sort by, let me show you something. So I'm going to click on format. And I'm going to change this. I'm going to change this input 3, okay, to, let's change it to 120, which is like 6 months of trading, okay? So it's going to recalculate now. See how it's recalculating. So if you wanted to look at a 6 month, the best 6 months option play from a true seasonal standpoint, now we can click on this, okay? And again, I'm looking for the bulls. CCO has almost a 70% move coming between now and that time period I just adjusted for, okay? That's probably a cheap stock, right? It's only $1 stock though. So I would skip that. But look at Acadia, okay? Look at Acadia. Again, this is looking at this red line here, okay? We have a pretty big move coming between now and 6 months from now, right? So if you were looking to get in here off of this Laguerre trigger back here, and it's also like Dr. K combo, okay, is this a good entry? Very, very potential, right? The only risk, we're in a downtrend, okay? But everything else is saying all signals forward. Okay, that's what's cool about TradeStation. You can adjust that stuff, right? And you can change it to, stocks that have only $5 and greater, right? You can change it to anything you want. But, let's look at ALK, right? Another one, airlines, right? Has a nice move coming here. Had a Laguerre trigger. So if you're looking at doing a 6 month option play off that trigger, you're off to a good start. Okay. All right, so I just wanted to show you, kind of what I'm working on and some of the toys there. You can also sort here by combo. Okay, I just sorted on combo here, and this is all the combo triggers today. So like, for example, CN. See the line in the chart, the combo trade? So again, you have, let me change the input 3 again back to, I'm going to change it to 60 days, so it's a 3-month option play. And you can look at 20, 40, 60. I'm hiding the other two just so I don't overburden all the data with everybody. Okay. So CN, interesting enough, over the next 60 days has that little decline first, which shows there. Okay. So again, you can play with it all you want. Okay. All right, so let's see here. Let me get out of that. Bear with me a second. Okay. So we're 45 minutes in. Alan, you can email me that. All right. Are there any questions anybody has right now? Is there anything? I'll spend another 5 minutes. If you want me to look at anything, just let me know. All right, and again, if you ever want to email me to give me feedback on what you'd like to see that you're not seeing and so forth, please do so. My personal email, just because of less spam, is keith.wade.dba@gmail.com, or also drkeith@seasonaltraderpro.com. Okay. If I don't answer you, I'm not ignoring you. It probably went to spam. So try again, or get in touch with me. Okay. Okay. So let's look at JNUG. So it doesn't have enough for the 10-year seasonality, but from a pure trend, right? This is a gold ETF, basically, folks. I'm only looking for up plays. Okay. We also know, though, from looking at gold, seasonally, it typically has down right now. So you may want to wait and enter later on. HIG, let's look at HIG. Okay. So HIG, looking pretty good, right? Next week, we typically start the bullish move on Hartford. Okay, we had a trigger a little bit early right here, which happens. But I like this to hit 48. I like this to head up to 48 here, okay? If you're not in yet, you can wait for a new trigger, right? We got plenty of time. Or go to the 4-hour, okay? AMRN, I don't think we've looked at that yet. Let me check. So look what AMRN did today. Very interesting, okay? So there might be some underlying news, I don't know. And so let me give you one more lesson here for today. Here's a beautiful thing, in my opinion, using seasonality with my indicator, okay? This white line is telling you what should happen based on the last 10 years of seasonal move. So it's basically telling you in late July, we should head higher, okay, until late August, then we should have a dip. That's what that's telling you. Interestingly enough, we have dip, but that's a pretty massive dip, okay? But we're going to bottom mid-September. So what I'm looking for on AMRN, I'm not trying to catch this knife long, okay? I'm going to let it settle in, and if we get another Laguerre trigger, or when we do, and it's settled down, that might be a fantastic entry, or you can wait for it to head up, come back down, and then when you have that higher low, okay, go ahead and take it. All this green, what does that mean? That means you should be a happy person, okay? That's what that is. Okay? All right, folks. Well, again, thanks for attending. Again, feedback's always welcome, so feel free to email me. Let me know what you think. This session is for you all each week, and I'm here to really help you give some clarity from the way I'm seeing it. Obviously, I'm not always right, nor should I be, but I'm going to give you data based off of statistics, based off of what traders are thinking, and go in the opposite direction of them. And hopefully, again, you can all get something out of it each week. So, all right, folks. Well, again, best of luck. See you all next week. Take care now.